Today you will see me like in 100 rarest ways in Geometry Dash, from the first spike of Stereo Madness to Ion 99%. But to make it more interesting, every 25 deaths I have to add 99% on an Extreme Demon. So let's start with the first death, the first spike of Stereo Madness. I don't know why I did it so dramatically, but that's how I did the first of 100 deaths, the easiest one, and with each death it will be more difficult, but I didn't care about that now, because now I was facing my second death. That is on the last spike with the first Polargeist jump. I guess everyone has died at some point while trying to do a quadruple jump. Let me skip the next 8 deaths, because they were just a warm-up. But they were, for example, dry out third coin or the second coin in Can Let Go. Basically, I wanted to go into dry out start pose to see where that coin is. But why the f***? There are 32,000 start pose here. It was weird, but I decided to go for another death. Bugging out on that spider in dash, so it suddenly launches me and I died instantly. After a few attempts, I finally managed to do it. And in my replay mode, I found that you die exactly at that spot. My next death will be on the first wave of Deadlocked. At that time, I didn't yet know how difficult Deadlock would be in the future, but you will see that later. Now, I wanted to do the next deaths, and they were Theory of Everything to 80% ship, Hexagon Force Dual Ball, and Electrodynamics ship at 70%. The next death is weird, because in Dash I have to skip the robot portal, and they die with ship right here. But it turned out I worse than I thought, because I couldn't even do that in practice mode. How am I supposed to do it? Yeah, this death was harder than I thought, so we will leave it for later. But 99% on Extreme Demon was coming faster than I expected. And I can already reveal that it's AQ 99%, but I still had 9 ways to die before that. So I did this death in Clapstep, where you have to jump between those two souls. It turned out to be so difficult that I had to switch the game to 60 FPS. Yes! Finally, the next death is 98% on Hexagon Force. A YouTuber called Merc died here over 11 years ago. And honestly, I think it's a bigger event than the Fall of Rome. If I had to rank it, the Merc death is in the second place, because my Cataclysm completion is the first one. No! I accidentally beaten it! Yes! Right after that, I did a short break and played Cookie Clicker at that time. Ooh. That might not have been necessary, but I did another 7 deaths, and now have only 1 left before Asu. Or Aku? I don't know. So the last death before Asu, or Aku, is doing this swag road way to get coin, but I must die. Yes! Finally. But now I have to get 98% on Aku, which won't be easy, because I have only beaten 1 Extreme Demon in my life, and that was over half a year ago. So let's start by doing some practice runs. I already wanted to be a Q1 before, that was over 2 years ago, and I got 83%. My best run so far is from 80 to 98, so let's keep going. But even I did 80 to 98 pretty easily, the run from 68 to 98 was so much longer. This wave is horrible. I can show you on replay mode how many times I died on it. This is honestly probably the hardest part of this level, but after 20 minutes, I finally managed to do it. Yes! Finally! And I wanted to have this level in 3 rounds, so I did from 38 to 70. Okay. But see for yourself what happened when I reached the drop from 0. What? I flew it from 23 to 70, which means I achieved my goal for that day, beating AQ in 3 runs. Actually, I beat it in 2 runs, but yeah. Unfortunately, I died that way, but I still think it's an amazing progress. Very amazing. But I still had the whole day free, so I did a run from 50 to 98. Yes! And then I started trying from 0 again. What the f***? Why? So because of that lag, I stopped playing Geometry Dash for that day, and finished this day with 644 attempts, 535 on start pose, and 109 from zero. The next day, I started playing AQ from zero, and surprisingly, I managed to get a new best, by 1%. Later, I started doing runs, and discovered this really weird secret way. Wait, what? It was so unexpected that I couldn't even process how it happened. It turned out to be so difficult that I couldn't even do it with a speed hack, but I didn't think much about it, and I kept going. I got 75% and then 77%. At that point, I knew I had to beat this level today, and see for yourselves what happened just a moment later. That's how I got 95%. I was only 7 clicks away from my desired 98%. I knew I was just one lucky attempt away from doing it. After a long break, I started playing again, and see for yourselves. Yes! Yes! And that's how I completed my first of 4 extreme demos. And now we're entering the stage where the death starts to get rarer. Starting with timing this jumping dash and dying right here. Let's be honest, nobody has ever died here. Anyway, why dash has start poses? And why I have 40 attempts on it? I just need to get to about 30%. Yeah. The next death is clicking that pink orb too early and crashing between those 2 blocks. These deaths are around medium level, so not too easy, not too hard, but if you know what comes later, well, if you watch until the end you will see. But the next death is timing this click in Theory of Everything too, and dying on that block. My next death is at 99% on an Eternus, but to make it not too easy, I'm doing it 2 times faster. Okay. No, I accidentally beated it! Why? Unfortunately, it didn't work out this time. The next death is jumping with the ball perfectly onto the edge of a block in electrodynamics, which causes you to die exactly at that spot. It might seem difficult, but if you click those orbs immediately, you don't even have to time it. Yes! The next death is timing this UFO click so that I die on the bottom spikes of that obstacle, but it turned out to be harder than I thought, so I went into Electroman Adventure start pose to practice the click pattern, and right after that, I did it on my first try. Yeah! I will go over the next 8 deaths quickly. They were going up with UFO at 72% in deadlock, dying on the last spike of the final shipping jumper, dying on that block at 40% in Geometrical Dominator, dying at 88%, again in Geometrical Dominator, dying on the dropping finger dash, dying from a tomato overdose, dying on the spike at the start of the ball in X-step, dying on that block by timing the jump pad in cycles, dying on that block in dash by skipping the spider portal, which you can do while being a spider, and dying on that block at 22% in Theory of Everything. The next death is dying in deadlock with the robot at 56% by skipping that ship portal. I'm really curious how many people in total have died in all these ways. The next death is also in deadlocked, because at 95% there is no wall in that spot, so I can die exactly there. There are quite a lot of spots like that in deadlocked. The next death is at 52% in clapstep. You have to fly up with the mini UFO and die at that spot, but to make it harder, I can't die on the obstacle above, I have to crash into that block instead. But unfortunately, I got carried away and... I skipped it. So instead of doing it properly, I ended up skipping that death, but it turned out to be harder than I thought. It was so difficult that I had to learn the click pattern on my keyboard, and as you can see, my keyboard isn't in the best condition. But after a few attempts, I finally managed to do it. Yes! At this point, I had 7 deaths left until the next 99% on an extreme demon. These were dying in XM at 44% on that block, dying on the way to the third coin on the most forgotten main level, dying by getting launched on a sloping hexagon force, dying at 67% in Time Machine, dying at 40% on Geometrical Dominator by jumping onto the edge of that block, and dying on those blue paths at 86% in Theory of Everything 2. At this point, I can show you another extreme demon, and it's... Allegiance. According to the RL, is over 100 places higher than Cataclysm. So first, I will try to beat it in practice mode. As you could see, practice mode took me over 300 attempts, but I didn't give up, and I quickly did runs from 95 to 100, from 86 to 98, and from 81 to 98, and that was the end of the first day, because it was Tuesday, and I had to go to school on Wednesday. I started playing again on Friday, and quickly got from 8 to 35%. Then I did from 4 to 36%, and that's when I knew I was ready to go from 0 to the drop. I got 7, 9, 11, 13, and 14, but 40% didn't count because I accidentally recorded cookie clicker instead of geometry dash. Then I got 24%, 36, and finally I managed to reach the drop at 48%. Yes! Then I started doing RAS again and got 75 to 98, then 70 to 100, but my attempt count started rising at an alarming rate. It was going up so fast that I even got the achievement for reaching 20,000 attempts. Then I reached 1,000 attempts. Yeah, 1,000 attempts. And as you can probably hear, I was really tired, but my progress completely stalled. And it was all because of that way. I honestly don't know what the creator was thinking putting it in the middle of the level, but then some hope appeared. Because about 300 attempts later, I finally did from 65 to 100. Yes! Finally some progress. After that, I did 60 to 100 and 48 to 63. Yes! In 3 runs! Which meant I had the level in 3 runs. But honestly, I think the run from 48 to 67 is like 50% of the difficulty. But we will get back to how unbalanced it is in a moment. Then I did 59 to 95. No, I forgot about this portal. But I didn't give up and finally got from 59 to 98. And then my brother came in just to laugh at me. Kurwa, człowieku, to patrz na tego kurwa wave'a teraz.
To jest proste. Czy to jest jakby ekstra?
Tak.
A, myślałem, że insane.
After 1,731st attempt, I finally quit it and went to sleep. I had been playing Geometry Dash for over 4 hours straight, which really exhausted me. But the next day I started again from 0 and got a new best by 1%. Later it went better and I reached that ship part, and I even got a new best starting from the drop. Then I got from the drop to 98, and that's when I knew I can beat it that day. It took quickly, okay, maybe not quickly because I ended up taking a 3-hour break, but I got 63% and 66%. However, observant people might notice I gained 32 orbs, which should have been 8% progress, not 3%. That's because my geometry dash crashed and raised my progress back to 58%. After that, the fierce rages started. Half an hour later, I got a new best again. No. But I was starting to feel really exhausted. For about 20 attempts I couldn't even get from 0 to the ball at 40%. And I should mention that the first 30% is one of the easiest parts of the level. So I decided I would beat it in the next day. So the next day had to be the final one. It was Sunday and I had school coming up, so I knew that if I didn't beat it that day, there wouldn't be another chance. I started the day by doing a few runs, and then I got 81% again. Yeah, that one click caused me a lot of problems, but I didn't give up and I died at the exact same spot again. Later, I finally managed to do that click. But then, thoughts started creeping into my head, that I just couldn't do it anymore. Still, after 15 minutes, I managed to get past it. And about an hour later, I got a new best. Yes! I honestly don't know if I ever been that happy about getting 98% on a level, but anyway, I beat Allegiance in around 4,500 attempts. But now, I will share my thoughts about the level. Overall, I liked it, but some parts are really unbalanced. For example, that ball click at 35%, where I died 58 times, or that ship section where I died 29 times. I won't go too deep into that wave at 63%, because I've already talked about it, but it was really frustrating. And that's how we've reached the point where the devs start getting rarer and harder. Starting with changing my TPS to 1000, and you're probably wondering why. It's because this dev, at least on my FPS, can't be done properly. It's a jump on that block in Time Machine, where you get launched upward and die right here. I found this dev thanks to Locorondo, who made a video about rare devs. And after a few attempts, I finally managed to do it. The next 3 devs are in blast processing. They are timing on the edge of that ball and dying on the saw, doing this super mega hyper ultra swag road and dying as the cube at that spot, and skipping the normal portal, which causes you to die as the dual wave. The first 2 were that difficult, but the first one was pure luck and it took me as many as 30 attempts in practice mode. Fortunately, it only took me 3 attempts. Next 2 deaths are in cycles, but to make it harder, I have to do the first death on 10 FPS. What the f is that? My eyes! As you can see, I was having a great time doing this, but I didn't tell you what this dev actually is. It's timing this click on the ball at 46% and dying on that spike. Yes! Yes! After all, I had to clean my eyes, and after doing that, I had to die at 96% again on cycles by bugging out on that ball. The next dev is at 28% in clapstep by flying over the snow, and it honestly wasn't that hard, maybe because I'm ship carried. But the next dev, I don't know if something was wrong with me at that time, but let's start from the beginning. I had to turn geometry dash on 1000 TPS again to jump onto the edge of that blocking hexagon force, and eventually die on that snow. But it was so difficult that it took me over 50 attempts. The next dev is in Geometrical Dominator, and I will show it to you now. If you don't know what's happening, when you are a robot and time a click right before hitting the jump pad, it launches you really high into the air. The next 2 deaths work the same way, except one is at the end of Geometrical Dominator, and the other one is by skipping the wave portal in Finger Dash. And the next death is also related to the robot, because as you probably know, Dash is a really buggy level. At the end, you can skip the cube portal by jumping with the robot and use that to squeeze into that gap and die there. You can do it with the cube too, but I wanted to do it in a more smug way. The next death is in Theory of Everything 2, where I have to fly really high with the mini ship, which causes the cube to die inside the wall. No! Wow! Yes! After that, I did 2 deaths in Clutterfang, both on the edges of blocks with the mini ball. I also noticed that most of these deaths happen because spike hitboxes aren't actually accurate. And I had to do the same thing in the next death, which was jumping onto the edge of a spike at 22% in Theory of Everything. I noticed it was possible on 10 FPS, so I did it without too many problems. The next death is bugging out on that jump pad in Electroman Adventures, which causes you to die in the void. After that comes a death at 4% in Clapstep, where I have to do this swag row to stay upside down and die on that block. By the way, you can count how many times I've said the next death in this video. The next 4 deaths are in, and this might surprise you, the challenge is probably the most bugged rap top level. So there are a lot of weird deaths there, but let's go one by one. The first is skipping that entire obstacle and dying in the void. The next is timing that green orb, so I fly over the spikes at around 30%, which was actually really difficult. Then doing basically the same death, but this time at around 40% by timing the blue orb. And finally, dying on that spike, except I have to skip the cube portal and die there as a spider. And the last 2 deaths before the next extreme demon are in blast processing and hexagon force. The first one is doing this swag row that makes me die on the last spike before the mini UFO in hexagon force, and the second is bugging out on that jump pad at 80% in blast processing, which skips the UFO portal and makes me die as the ball on that snow. And just like that, we move onto the first extreme demon, which is Stellaluna. According to the RL, it's about 100 places higher than Allegiance, sitting at around 1153rd place. A fun fact about it is that Multiverse GT beat it without using practice mode, but I'm not like him, so first I beat it with using practice mode. So, beating Stellaluna in practice mode took me around 200 attempts. I think it's an easier level than Allegiance, but time will tell. Right after that, I did a run from 88 to 97, because I have to die at 97%, and then I did 70 to 100. After around 200 attempts, I finally managed to do 62 to 100. It happened faster than I expected, but that still wasn't the end of that day. I wanted to start practicing from 0, so I got 8, then 11, then 12, and eventually reached the drop at 20%. I tried to get a new bets after that, but it didn't happen. So that's how I ended day 1. On day 2, I started practicing the drop from 49%, and then I did 49 to 73. After that, I did 42 to 65, and then 42 to 86. So this is the kind of level where I honestly feel I could fluke it, even if I only got to 30%. And with that thought in mind, I did a crazy fluke from 29. Right after that, I decided to play from 0 because I thought I might fluke it, but for some reason I couldn't get the pass pre-drop for a good 200 attempts. What the f is wrong with pre-drop? I was honestly getting pretty worn out by that point, but I didn't give up, and not long after I got a new best. Okay, that's good. That's good. It wasn't good at all. Right after that new best, I went straight to bed and started playing again the next day. And I started the next day by doing a run from 41 to 93. Then I did 41 to 95 and I started playing from 0 again, getting a new best. Then I tried to get a new best again, but the most I managed to do was 40%. I went to a start position and I did it. So I did 29 to 94, which meant I almost beat Stellaluna in 2 runs. I was just only 2 clicks away from it. But I got a new best again, and interestingly it was 57.57%. Then I got 56% and later 18 to 84. At that point, I could really feel it. Beating the level was closer than I thought. On the same day, I got 65% and died at a spot that would later become a big problem for me. Okay. Oh. Cool. After that, I went back to the start post and did 18 to 95, which basically meant I had almost beaten the entire level, since 14 to 18 is auto. After that, I tried to make some more progress, but I ended the day with a rather symbolic slam on my desk. So, I think this is already day 3 or 4 of this level. I'm hoping I can finally beat it today. And I started the day by doing a run from 41 to 100. Nice. And right after that, I started from 0. And this happened. Oh yeah! That's how I broke my keyboard. But I didn't give up. I still another one for my brother. And got 82% again. No! And then again. No, nie, no kurwa! And again. Nie, to się nie dzieje. But after 50 more attempts, I finally managed to get a new best. Yes! And just like that, after around 4,600 attempts, I finally beat Stellaluna. That's a similar attempt called to Allegiance, but I still think Stellaluna is the easier level overall. Parts that annoy me the most were the pre-drop, that black orb wall, spider, and especially that green orb at the end. And that's how we begin the deaths from 75 to 99. The hardest ones for me. The first 5 deaths were in theory of everything too, and they all involve skipping this portal, which causes me to die in 5 different places. But to make things more interesting, I had to do each one in a different way. The first normally. Oh. Yeah! The second in editor mode. Please. Yay! The third on 30 FPS. Oh my god, not again. Got flashbacks from cycles. I think the hardest part of it is reaching 70%. Oh my god. Please. Yes! The fourth on a 1.4 speed hack. Oh, please. Yes! And the last one, with several Eclipse options enabled. That made my life much harder. What the f is even that? Okay, so to make it not too easy, I added a few more labels. Ooh. Okay. Yes! Luckily, the next day wasn't as annoying as the previous one. All I have to do was reach the edge of that spike at 17% electrodynamics and die on the following spikes. The next death is on the edge of a spike in Geometrical Dominator, where I have to do this extremely precise timing that causes me to die on that obstacle. I'm not even sure how to describe it. Yes! Oh, no. Oh, yes. Remember that skipping dash from the beginning of this video? I said I'd leave it for later, because it was too hard for me, and there was a reason. It looked easy at first, but RobTop actually buffed it a while ago, so now it ended up being one of the hardest deaths. But you're probably wondering how RobTop buffed it. He added 2 triggers around that robot portal that push you back towards the portal. Even so, it's still possible. Okay, so to make it, you have to fly just extremely down. Like this. Oh yay! Yeah! Finally! and the next 8 deaths are in deadlocked. If you watched Purel's video, where he beat it in the weirdest way, you probably know about this swag road on the first mini wave. I'm going to do it too, but this time I won't make it in 5 different ways like on Theory of Ring 2, because that would be impossible for me. Even doing it once already took me a very long time, but see for yourselves. No, I was so close. But after 500 attempts, I realized I need more CPS, so I just did a butterfly click on both my mouse and keyboard at the same time. And see for yourselves. Oh! Yes! Okay. I have to do it fast. Oh my god. Oh, you! Oh, yes. Here. Yes! Oh, please. Yeah! Yes! By the way, that's how many times I died on that wave in normal mode. And like I said before, there were 8 deaths in deadlock. And the last ones I also discovered from a Pure L video. Is a jump onto the edge of that spike at 50% in robot mode, which makes you die on those 3 spikes. But I can do this one in 3 different ways. So I did it normally, in editor mode and on 30 FPS. But by accident, I got another rare death. And I didn't even know it existed. No! No! Wait. That's another death. And the next death might not be difficult, but I'm pretty sure almost nobody has ever died there. On the way to the coin in Geometrical Dominator, instead of going for the coin, you have to skip that portal and die in the void. And that death was very easy. And the same can be said about the next 2 deaths, also in Geometrical Dominator, where I have to jump onto the edge of that spike and die at the beginning of that block. And then jump in a way that lets me go onto that structure and then die in the void. Just like that, I only have 4 deaths left until Eon 99%. 2 of them are in Electrodynamics, where I have to jump onto the edge of a spike in those 2 obstacles, so I did them, one normally and one in editor mode. The third one is going into that gap in Deadlocked and dying on the first spike of that section. It wasn't hard, just rare. And just like that, we move to Eon. You're probably going to say that I still have 1 death left. But why I didn't do it, you will find in the future. And if you don't know what Eon is, it's the longest rated level in the game, and it takes almost an hour to complete. So I skipped practice mode, and on day 1 and day 2, I just did runs. A lot of runs. My best run was from 75 to 86, but I noticed something. The creator of this level clearly likes to torture people. The section from 90 to 100 is by far the hardest part, and to even get there, I have to play for 50 minutes. And so far, I've only managed to do it in 8 rounds. I also noticed that 90 to 95 is much harder than 95 to 100, and the hardest part is from 94.58 to 95.40. I hope you know what I mean. And I just hope I don't die in a stupid way there, but only time will tell. And just like that, we move on to day 3, which I started by doing 94 to 99. Yes! Yes! Then I did 75 to 90, and after that I started playing from 0, and I got 4, 6, 8, 14... Fuck, we got there! And then 23. No! 23.67! I started day 4 by doing a run from 33 to 45. But then I got really crazy fluke from 22%. No! I honestly died in the dumbest way possible, and I still wonder what would have happened if I didn't die there. But I didn't give up after that, and I managed to do 94 to 99 again. Yes! Then I got a new best, but I died because of a lag. Just see for yourself. What? What the f***? And right after that, I went to bed. I started day 5 by doing a few runs, nothing too important, like 93 to 96. Then I started playing from 0. I died at a part that will soon end up causing me a lot of trouble, but I wouldn't realize that until the following days. I started day 6 by doing a run from 94 to 99, and then another from 90 to almost 95, which meant I had the hardest part of Eon in just 2 runs. Then I got a new best. By 1%. No! After that, I decided to play Start Pose again, and I did 93 to 99. I was really starting to get closer to my goal of doing 90 to 99, and I decided I was going to try to do it that day. After a few runs from 90 to 95, the hardest part of the level, I finally did it. No. That's how day 6 came to an end. On day 7, after a whole week of playing Ion, I finally managed to do 90 to 100. Yes! Yes! On the same day, I also did 91 to 98 and then 90 to 98. After that, I decided to play from 0 and got 42% and then went to bed. But I did my goal for that day by doing 90 to 100. I started the next day with a run from 45 to 60. Then I did 59 to 72 and after that I did 90 to 100 once again. Yes! But things couldn't keep going that well and I ended up breaking out their keyboard. Unfortunately, that keyboard didn't last very long, so I had to take a short break, but after that, I pulled off an incredible fluke from 45. That run lasted over 30 minutes, and I was really proud of myself. Sure, I died in a pretty dumb way, but it still gave me hope that I could beat Ion at any moment. Then I got a new best. But did you hear that? If you didn't notice it, I died because of a mouse lag. I was really devastated because I thought I could fluke it, since the second half, excluding 90 to 100, is much easier than the first one. That's how I ended that day. The next day, I started by doing 90 to 100 again. I actually managed to do it twice in a row. That's when I knew I was ready to go from 0 to the end. After that, I got 51%. No! Then 46%. Ogólnie no to ja jestem jakiś r***ny, naprawdę, no kurwa. And that's when I rage quit. I didn't play the next day. Sometimes taking a day off really helps, and I was about to find that out. Still not knowing that, I started practicing in the middle of the level, so I wouldn't die in a stupid way again. And I did 45 to 66, and then 35 to 62. But what I did next changed the entire enjoyment of Ion. Oh my god. It is the last part. No! Yeah! So, I got fluke from 52 to 94. And after that, I just stopped playing. I didn't show you everything, but besides that 94%, there were 9 runs where I died after 40%. It was honestly very frustrating. Of course, I tried to come back. I even got 62%, but in the end, I just gave up.